All right, everybody, it's Tuesday, and I'm Rita Batchley. This is Coffee with the Nurse's Nurse, where we put the self-care back into healthcare. And I want to shout out to my friend Sharon for this cool mug and awesome bracelet that she sent me for encouragement and support, because it's all about putting it out there live and being our best selves so that we can get that self-care and give it back to our patients and to each other. Because, yeah, loving on ourselves. Today, we're going to go over how to get hospitals to pony up for better pay, better staffing, and better protections for our patients and for each other, for our nurses out there and healthcare workers. Don't want to forget about you guys. We're all in this together on the trenches, the front line of medicine. Sipping it down. So you're going to want to stick around for to find out about what we can do to get Congress to listen. Because, oh my gosh, I know you've all heard about what's going on out there. Well, and you're part of it, and what the appreciation that, or lack of appreciation, that's been shown to nurses out there. And I know you can read this for yourself, so I'm not going to read it, but I thought it was pretty hilarious because right now, in the United States Congress, the American Hospital Association has put forth legislature to cap traveler nurse pay. And I don't know about you, but I don't know that nurses asked for that. And we definitely did not ask for pizza. And what we need right now is some good old-fashioned leadership. And I know for me, leadership is not coming in the form that I want it to come in. And I know for a lot of nurses out there, it's been really frustrating because we want direction and we want power. We have power. There's 3 million of us in the United States. And we can make this a better place for not only for healthcare, but in our hospital working conditions, but for healthcare in general. I keep these 2 little pictures on my desk because I remind myself what I'm doing this for. These little grandkids of mine, you know what? Their future depends on what we do today. And if we want our healthcare to be better, we got to make it better. The solution starts with us. And the solution starts with me taking care of myself and figuring out what I need. And it's not pizza, and it's not caps on travelers' pay. What nurses want and need are safe staffing ratios. They want better wages so that the nurses that have been at the same job and can't become travelers because they can't go all over the country and leave their families. They want a living wage that supports them without having to do 80 hours of overtime a week, because that's just not healthy. We need a work-family balance in order to stay healthy. And so the other thing we want is protections, which comes in the form of the protective gear and also working conditions. So one of the things that people are finding out is that this legislature that is up in Congress right now is the result of a letter from the American Hospitals Association, who pay millions of dollars to our congressmen in the form of contributions for their campaigns. So of course, these congressmen are going to listen, and they're going to respond immediately with this bill to push it through Congress and become a law. And what does it take for them to hear nurses? Well, one of the things that I know that works is unionizing. And I know a lot of nurses don't like unions, but more and more nurses are beginning to come around to unions. And I know for me that being part of a union was monumental in what I needed as an RN. When I first came into the profession, I thought all hospitals were unionized. My dad had a union job. I grew up on the East Coast, and unions were just part of our lives back there. And my dad was able to have a living wage. We had subsidized housing through his electrical union, Local 3 in Queens. And we were able to have a decent life. And we all went to school and had a decent wage that my dad was able to provide for us, that we went to school and we all became really successful people in life, all my siblings and I. And so with today, we have two different types of unions. Well, we have an association, which is, I'm going to put this up. We have the American Nurses Association, which does not do collective bargaining. The mission statement of the American Nurses Association is to lead our profession to shape the future of nursing and healthcare. Now, the other type of union, which is like SEIU, California Nurses Association, NNU, which is, I use the California Nurses Association and National Nurses United's mission statement, is to advocate for the interests of registered nurses and patients, to unify nurses to create an organization capable of exercising influence over the healthcare industry, also known as the American Hospital Association, so that governments and employers to strengthen collective bargaining and to influence healthcare policy. So right off the bat, you can see there's a big difference between the American Nurses Association and unions that do collective bargaining. And for me, growing up in New York and then moving to California, we had 1999 was a pretty pivotal time in nursing history as far as bedside nurses and general population, because in California, the nurses fought to win the ratios for med-surg and all throughout the hospital. And this really changed the way healthcare was delivered. It held hospitals accountable. And yeah, unions are powerful in that they're not just about paying dues, because without the nurses involved in the day-to-day organizing, meetings, and I'm going to put a disclaimer out there right now. The unions are not paying me to say this. This is my experience, my strength of what happened, and the hope that we can change what's going on for nurses today. So when I say unions are only as good as the people who work inside them, not the leadership of the union, which is also important, but it's about the members, because union is about unifying our nurses together for action. And those actions make the difference. When I finished up, we finally got our ratios in 99, and I've been an RN since 1986. I know what it's like to have a unit full of patients, one RN to 7, 8, 11. One night I had 17 med-surg patients, ortho neuro patients, because another nurse called out sick. It was just like dodging bullets. It just was horrible. There's a lot of memes and things out there about, what it feels like. It's like drug driving, you're taking a big risk. And this is people's lives. One of the actions that I really appreciate about what I'm doing, and when I say what I'm doing, I mean what I'm putting out here live. I don't have to do this live. I do it live because I'm terrified of public speaking. You wouldn't know it, but I'm really shy. I really have a hard time with putting myself out there. But I feel so passionate about what is going on right now with healthcare and nurses that I just want to put it out here in this, because I'm just going to go live and say what I have to say, because I know nurses will understand that this is not a featured production. If you want a featured production, you're going to go to the movies and see a feature show. This is about empowering you so we can change this system that's causing massive amounts of people going bankrupt. They can't pay their healthcare premiums. A healthcare insurance premium is as much as a house payment today, but you're still not getting an RN at the bedside. That is deplorable, despicable, whatever you want to call it. But the solution, my friends, is with us. We have power to organize and take action. Back in 2005 through like 13 is when my book came out. Plug for my book right here, Labor Pains. I figured out that I wanted to write about a shero. She is little Paige O'Neill, and her hospital gets bought out by a huge corporation. Sound familiar? I mean, that's 90% of what's out there right now are these conglomerates of hospital corporations that they have a monopoly, and we are under their thumbs as far as how follow the money. Let's follow the money. When it comes to getting hospitals to pony up, we think the American Nurses Association, or like the mission statement said, it's supposed to help us. But in reality, they are supporting the American hospital associations, and they're not advocating for safe staffing ratios. And that is, I'm not putting down the American Nurses Association in the sense that I still belong to them and pay their dues. Pay my dues because I feel like I get some information, some value from my subscription. I'm going to take this down because this is not about me plugging away for the book. It's about helping you find your way to use your power as an RN to change what's going on out there and where we're working in our communities. And I got to say, nurses are ready. I put up a comment under, wrong one. Sorry about that. Here it is. This is in the National Nurses March Facebook page. And I put up a post about what are nurse to patient ratios at your hospital. And I know there aren't laws to mandate ratios at every state, but I heard that in some states like Florida, ICU nurses can have up to 5 patients to 1 RN. And I was involved in I worked in California in labor and delivery. And after the ratio law was passed, it made a huge difference, but it was a hell of a fight. And I'm struggling to read this because I'm not wearing my glasses, but you can read along. And anyway, we have the California Nurses Association and the NNU in California to thank for these ratios because the American Nurses Associations refuse to help us. Why? Because the American Nurses Association does not do collective bargaining. But they continue to support the American Hospital Association, which is deplorable because bedside nurses make up 75% of the nurse workforce. If you want ratios out there, sisters and brothers, don't think the ANA will help you. They defeated the bill for ratios in Massachusetts in 2018. We need unity, we need a plan, and we need help to meet our goals. And that's why I chose this as the subject of today's discussion, because look, I got over 450 people commenting in. And here are some of them. I took out their names to protect their privacy. But one lady, it's time to whip out the glasses here. She said, she left the step down. She had 5 to 7 patients. Med surg is even worse. 7 to 1 RN, 8 to 1 RN on nights. And then my last page on this Facebook was, this was really good. This one nurse from Massachusetts. Okay, well, this one said the California ratio law language doesn't not mention non-RNs. And that was one of the things too, getting our brothers and sisters in our respiratory therapists are suffering, our nurses' aides, oh my gosh, the home health industry, the skilled nursing facilities, all of these healthcare workers. There's so many of us, but Congress is not listening. This one, I have it in red. I have it highlighted. It says, with COVID and poor staffing, we have had 11 to 1. I have a question for the states that have mandated ratios. What happens when there are more patients than staff to work and no other staff want to come in? Well, I can answer that question, and I'm happy to answer it because I got to tell you, that's, from 1999, when the ratio law was passed in California till even today, it's a work in progress. And our work is never done. Our policy and political work, we have to continue to evolve. Nursing has to continue to evolve and get new laws passed, because once we got the ratio law passed in California, then we had to have more enforcement to get hospitals to stay accountable. And it's a lot better than having no ratios, but it is also a work in progress, because if nurses did not report that they were short-staffed, a lot of times hospitals would take advantage and just say, there's no nurses, we can't help you. And even though the law says we're supposed to have 5 to 1 or 4 to 1 on med surg, if they couldn't find someone, they just said they couldn't find anybody. And we believe them, because the culture of nurses is that we believe, that's taking advantage of our culture of caring, that we believe someone when they say that they're doing the best they can. And that is why getting involved on the political level, it doesn't have to be a union, but it has to be something. Because if we're going to continue to do what we've been doing, we're going to continue to get what we've been getting. And it's not sustainable. And I look at these cute little faces of my grandkids, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it going to be like for them when, healthcare prices, it's got to stop. Like, why can legislation cap nurses' pay, but yet a vial of insulin has gone up from $50 like 3 years ago to $250 today? Like, why don't they cap that? Why are they not listening? And it all comes down to follow the money. Hospital congressmen are getting money from the American Hospital Association for their campaign, and they're lobbying them. They're lobbying these legislators. And so why would they listen to nurses? Well, if we belong to a strong union and our dues start lobbying, and I got to tell you, when the nurses went to Capitol Hill, I've gone to several functions. I've been to the Arizona State Capitol. I've been to the Sacramento, California State Capitol. And when nurses get together and we make some noise, people listen. And maybe the legislature doesn't listen right away, but when the public hears us and then they start complaining to legislature, it becomes an issue, because the public, they really do love us, and with good reason. Nurses are awesome people, and you don't know what a nurse does until you need a nurse. And I got to say, the people I've helped, the people who've helped me who are nurses, that's why I'm doing this. I worked in labor and delivery, but I was a chief nurse rep for the Ventura County nurses for probably 12 to 15 years. I don't know how many contracts I helped them negotiate, but I love working with nurses. And when they get empowered and when nurses become a force to be reckoned with, look out. Because once nurses are educated, they will educate the public, and then the public will educate the legislature or legislators to change this stuff. But it starts with you. And that is the big answer. How do we get hospitals to pony up? We tell them. We tell them how to treat us. We teach them that this is not okay. And I look at and think about this little lady. There's Rosa Parks. She got arrested. Well, I'm sure you know the story of Rosa Parks. She got arrested for sitting, for not getting up in the front of the bus or on the bus in general for a white person. The law was that Black people could not sit if a white person got on the bus. They had to give up their seat, and she refused. And she went to jail for that. And it seemed in my, like my baby brain and my whatever, that it was just like one act of, it was one action that happened. And it was, but Rosa Parks was part of a grassroots political action that was well planned and well executed, and she had a lot of support. And she became famous for this. For every one Rosa Parks, there's at least 50 to 100 activists behind them who are working towards these better conditions and better protections. And my call to action to the nurses is think of an action that would change the way your organization thought or did things. My idea, let me hide this. My idea is, what if nurses, if you go onto your company's website and you see how much your CEOs are making, go and also post how much you've been given raises over the last, 5 years, or even since the pandemic, because I'll bet that, these frontline workers and everyone who's been said they're heroes until they ask for living wage or a cost of living wage. They're all heroes until they ask for that. And then all of a sudden they're unskilled, or they're getting thrown under the bus. No pun intended, Rosa, for that one. But, you get thrown under the bus. And that's something the public needs to know, and that would annoy these CEOs and legislators and the American Hospital Association, and maybe even put a fire under the American Nurses Association to get rid of these magnet programs which do nothing for nurses. I mean, yeah, it says it all. When you have an organization supporting magnet hospitals instead of frontline workers to get raises for nurses, ancillary support, better staffing, better protections. Yeah, writing letters is a way, but also educating the public. So taking these actions. And if you like what you're hearing today, please, if you find anything that's valuable here, please share this video. It's going up on my YouTube channel. Buy my book. You can find out in here how Paige O'Neill, how she organized her hospital and got the nurse, unified her people, or follow me on Facebook, follow me on the Nurse's Nurse. Drop some more comments in. Join the National Nurses March on May 12th in DC. I hope to be speaking there. That would be awesome. Or join the Facebook page, Show Me Your Stethoscope. That's also a great place to learn a lot about what's going on in the hospitals and out there. So that is today's version of Coffee with the Nurse's Nurse, where we put the self-care back into healthcare and take the daily grind out of nursing one sip at a time. Tune in next week, and I'll see you then.